Today we're going to discuss Chapter 6, which is about business formation, and Chapter 7, which is about small business and entrepreneurship. Think about a business you would like to set up. Would you want to run that business by yourself, or would you want to take a partner to start the business? Can you think of any obstacles you might face based on the choice that you make? In Chapter 6, we will discuss the 4 basic forms of business ownership and the advantages and disadvantages of those business types. One of the most important decisions in starting a business is to decide which form of ownership you will use. The form of ownership affects virtually every aspect of setting up and running the business, including the startup costs, how profits are distributed, what types of taxes the business will pay, and which regulations the business must follow. 4 out of every 5 new businesses fails within the first 5 years. The vast majority of businesses in the United States are owned and operated under one of these 4 forms: sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, and limited liability company. In sole proprietorship, company earnings are given the same treatment as owner's income. So the debts incurred by the company are treated as the owner's debts. A partnership is a voluntary agreement in which 2 or more people act as co-owners of a business for profit. The most basic form of partnership is known as a general partnership. This is where each partner has the right to participate in the company's management and share in the profits, but they also have unlimited liability to any debts that the company incurs. A business aiming to be a corporation has to file the articles of incorporation with the appropriate state agencies. They have to pay the state's incorporation fees and meet other regulations. Unlike a sole proprietorship or a partnership, a corporation is considered to be a legal entity that's separate and distinct from its owners. The owners of the corporation have limited liability, meaning they aren't personally responsible for the debts and obligations of their company. A limited liability company is a hybrid form of business ownership that is similar in some aspects to a corporation while having other characteristics that are similar to a partnership. LLCs are legally considered to be separate from their owners. Also, like corporation, an LLC offers its owners limited liability for the debts of their business. So let's talk about some advantages and disadvantages of each of these forms of ownership. The paperwork and costs associated with sole proprietorship are minimal. The owner is in full control of the business and retains all the profits. But banks and other financial institutions are skeptical when it comes to lending money for such businesses. The debts of the business are treated as the owner's personal debts. Paying the salaries that talented employees demand becomes difficult. The owners tend to work longer and are under a lot of stress. If the owner dies, retires, or withdraws from the business entity lawfully ceases to exist. A partnership is formed when partners enter into a voluntary partnership agreement. Partnerships based on a verbal agreement can also be legitimate, but sometimes that can get you into a little bit of trouble. Well-written agreements can prevent common misunderstandings. Partnerships have strong financial bases because there is more than one person involved. Responsibilities and skills are better divided and shared between the partners. Forming a partnership is easy. The partners may gain certain tax advantages. But partners are not only responsible for themselves, but they're also responsible for the other partners. Conflicts are more likely to arise. If a partner withdraws, it poses a threat to the continuity of the partnership. A partner who withdraws is still held responsible for the debts the business entity had during the partner's withdrawal. Limited partnerships have at least one general partner and at least one limited partner. The personal wealth of limited partners is not at risk as long as the limited partners do not actively participate in managing the business entity. An LLP limits the personal risks of involved partners. Different states offer different liability protections. A business entity that aims at a corporation not only has to file articles of incorporation and pay filing fees, but it also has to adopt corporate bylaws. Forming a corporation requires more finance and it is costlier than forming a sole proprietorship or a partnership. Common stock represents the basic ownership interest in a corporation, but some firms also issue preferred stock. The board of directors establishes the corporation's mission and objectives. The board is rarely involved in the day-to-day workings of the company itself. There are several types of corporations. The most common is called a C corporation. So let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages of C corporations. Stockholders are not personally liable for debts incurred by the company. Corporations function as long as they are financially viable and the stockholders want it to function. Owners can just sell their shares and withdraw from ownership. Corporations issue shares or sell formal IOUs called corporate bonds to raise financial capital. Corporations attract skilled employees because they can afford to pay the right salaries. But corporations go through a complex and expensive opening procedure. A domestic corporation has to qualify as a foreign corporation before it can operate in a different state. The C corporation usually faces double taxation. In most respects, forming an LLC is similar to forming a corporation. Organizers of most LLCs also draft an operating agreement, which is similar to the bylaws of a corporation. Some states also require LLCs to publish a notice of intent to operate as a limited liability company. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of LLC? All owners of an LLC have limited liability. The owners have the option to treat the LLC as a partnership or a corporation. LLCs need not hold regular board meetings, and they can have unlimited owners. But the articles of organization and the filing fees make it difficult to set up LLCs. Many states have laws that make it mandatory for LLCs to pay franchise tax. LLCs must qualify as foreign companies before starting their operations in other states. And most states do not allow banks, insurance companies, or nonprofits to operate as LLCs. Another option to business ownership is franchising. Franchising is one of the most popular ways of operating a business. Distributorships and business format franchises are the most common types of franchise agreements. In a distributorship, the franchisor makes a product and grants distributors a license to sell it, like automakers and dealerships. In a business format franchisee, the franchisor grants the franchisee the right to make and sell its goods or services, like Subway or McDonald's. One of the biggest trends in franchising in the past several years has been the expansion into foreign markets. Competition is less intense in foreign markets and less saturated outside the United States. Another notable trend has been the growth in the number of women franchisees. It estimates that women own about 45% of all franchises at this point. So what are some advantages and disadvantages of franchising? Franchising is less risky because it offers access to proven business systems and products. Franchisees are usually trained and supported by the franchisor. Franchisees attract customers because they enjoy instant brand recognition. Banks and other financial institutions don't hesitate to loan funds to franchisees. But the initial franchisee fee, other fees, and the franchisor fee make franchising a costly process. The majority of the control lies with the franchisor, not the franchisee. A single franchisee's mistake can cause harm to the entire franchise. Franchise agreements restrict the franchisee's territory. So that's a look at the forms of business ownership. Next, we'll discuss Chapter 7, which is small business and entrepreneurship. Despite the recent recession, the entrepreneurship rate has been growing steadily in the United States. Most of the people that are starting a business seek a combination of greater financial success, independence, flexibility, and challenge. Owning a business holds appealing benefits for entrepreneurs, such as being their own boss, having control over their own schedule, and facing new challenges. Almost every entrepreneur starts out as a small business owner, but not every small business owner starts out as an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs should have a lot of vision, self-reliance, energy, confidence, tolerance of uncertainty, and tolerance of failure. Entrepreneurs are widely excited about their own ideas. They find new solutions to old problems, and they develop new products, and they stick to their ideas in spite of discouragement they face from others. For many entrepreneurs, the biggest challenge in their startup year is finding the money to fund the business. A majority of new firms have entrepreneurs raising startup funds from personal accounts, their family, or their friends. At times, they have to use credit cards. Another key funding source include bank loans, angel investors, and venture capital firms. Getting startup loans commercially can be tough, either because of the long wait period or because of a lot of paperwork. Another source is the Small Business Administration, or the SBA. They partially guarantee loans from local commercial lenders. Another potential funding source is peer-to-peer funding, or like crowdsourcing. That brings together borrowers and investors so they can both benefit financially. Angel investors are on the lookout for companies that are likely to grow at 30 to 40% per year, which will then either be bought or go public. They are wealthy individuals who invest in promising startup companies for one basic reason: to make money for themselves. Deals with venture capital firms tend to be quite visible, but only a tiny fraction of new businesses receive any venture capital money. In 2012, we saw a 10% decrease in the venture capital spending due to an uncertainty in the economy. Venture capital firms fund high potential new companies in exchange for a share of ownership, which can sometimes be up to 60%. Most small businesses enjoy a number of advantages as they compete for customers, but they also must diffuse a range of daunting potential threats to succeed over the long term. Small businesses can exploit narrow but profitable market niches, offer personal customer service, and maintain lower overhead costs. They can also use the advancements in technology to their benefit. With a smaller customer base, small firms can develop strong personal relationships with individual customers. Entrepreneurs can lower overhead costs by hiring fewer managers and fewer specialized employees. They tend to work around costs with various tactics. Using online tools from eBay to eMachine Shop, they can create, sell, publish, and even manufacture goods and services more easily than ever before. The threats that small businesses face are a high risk of failure, lack of knowledge and experience, less money at the startup, and high health insurance costs for their employees. The Small Business Administration works with individual states to fund local small business development centers. The small business development centers help entrepreneurs develop their concepts, provide consultations on their business plans, and help them with loan applications. Entrepreneurs can gain a lot by working for roughly 3 years under someone in the field that they're interested in. They should be open enough to learn from other entrepreneurs who are successful and also those who have failed. You can learn a lot of lessons from somebody who hasn't succeeded and not make their mistakes. Entrepreneurs should educate themselves with a vast number of learning opportunities that are provided by colleges and universities these days. Whether you considered starting a business on your own or going into a partnership with a friend, there are a lot of things to consider before you do that. There are a lot of resources out there for small business owners and entrepreneurs. You just need to know where to look and who to ask. So that is all for chapters 6 and 7. As always, I say I'm here to help, so reach out to me with any questions that you might have, and have a great week.